Hello, this is Richard Wright again for Software Bisque. Welcome to part 4 of the technical preview introduction video for TheSky LTI. And this video is about using TPoint with TheSky LTI. Much of the power of LTI is based on the ability to easily come to focus, which we talked about in the last video, and of course be able to successfully image link on an image with some stars in it. Once these prerequisites are met, LTI is a very powerful imaging platform for both beginners and advanced imagers alike, and we can do a lot of the driving for you once we're at that level. So, to ensure that we can image link, there's a wizard called Characterization Imager right there. What this wizard does is take an image and use the SkyX Professional's blind all-sky image link technology to determine the image scale of your system. You can see here at first it reminds you that you need to be focused. If an image cannot be image linked, the wizard automatically tries successively longer exposures. So this will vary depending on how fast your focal system is, or how fast your focal ratio is. If an image link cannot be performed after about 10 seconds, then something else is seriously amiss. Either your scope is covered or it's cloudy. Are you sure you focused first? Essentially, everything is predicated on the ability to take an image, get some stars, and perform an image link. So upon success, it'll just tell you that this succeeded, and of course the plate scale is saved and is ready for use later. You don't have to remember it or put it in anywhere or anything like that. So once you're able to get focused and the image scale is known, then activating and using TPoint really could not be any easier. Wait. We need a timeout here. We need to talk for just a second about what TPoint actually does. Most people understand TPoint collects pointing errors all across the sky. So we're going to slew the scope around and take a bunch of photographs at different locations, and we're going to perform image link on them, also sometimes called plate solving. Basically, this is a pattern match against the stars in the image, and it tells us where the scope is actually pointing as opposed to where the scope thinks it's pointing. And so this error, or collection of these errors, pointing errors all over the sky, is what TPoint uses to build a model of misalignments in your system. Now, this is not only a model of your mount misalignment, like your altitude and azimuth, but it also models OTA misalignments. For example, the front of your telescope may be a little bit higher on the versaplate or a little to the left or right. All these things are crooked, sometimes to a very small amount, but it makes a big difference when you're pointing at objects in the sky. So what does TPoint use this model for? Well, most people know intuitively it's improved pointing, right? So we can have some misalignments, we do a few points, and now when we point to our object, the object is in the field of view of our camera. But that is grossly underestimating the power of TPoint. It also provides real quantitative polar misalignment information, and this is the tool that's used by most every professional observatory in the world to measure polar alignment, and of course it's in the hands of amateurs via the SkyX Professional, which is underneath of the SkyX LTI. Also, if you have a Paramount, and this is a really big deal, it makes real-time tracking rate adjustments to both the RA, the right ascension, and the declination of your mount, which means if you're misaligned off the pole, people know that oftentimes the declination will drift, or the star, your target will drift up or down in the field of view. Well, what ProTrack is doing under the covers, it's actually moving the declination axis, it's moving the RA axis in the right amount to account for the fact that your polar alignment is not correct. So really with ProTrack, you do not have to have perfect polar alignment to get unguided exposures for your imaging run. And that's one of the real powerful features of the TheSky LTI, is it takes this very powerful tool and just makes it very simple and easy to use so that you can get set up and start imaging right away without having to spend a lot of time obsessing over polar alignment and other things. Okay, so let's get back to work. So, Once you've performed a rough polar alignment and achieved focus, all you have to do is decide how much time you want to spend collecting pointing samples. You can select as few as 6 pointing samples or as many as over 100, and it's as easy as just saying go. Start TPoint Run. There's even a small delay after each slew to allow the scope to settle from any potential shake from moving around and corrupting the image. Each sample is automatically image linked and added to the mount model without any additional user intervention. When the TPoint Run is complete, there's no polar alignment report. The intent is that for shorter focal length systems, ProTrack actually will do a good enough job for short exposures, that being like 5 minutes or less. With the refined polar alignment adjustment, it's really not necessary. We do plan to add accurate polar alignment feature here in the future because yes, we know some users are going to either be very bad at polar alignment or they would just like to be able to take advantage or they'd like to be able to take longer exposures or use longer focal lengths. As it stands now, LTI is already performing very well for fast optical systems such as a Hyperstar or Roe Ackerman, and really this is all you need to get going. Of course, this is only a technical preview after all, and we are of course not quite done yet. So when the TPoint Run is finished, the dialog automatically closes itself, and you should be ready to go. ProTrack is automatically turned on for you, and really for just getting going, the kind of the beginner crowd, this is all you need. Just tell it you want 24 samples. You know, most cameras can do 24 samples in about 10 minutes or so, so it doesn't take very long, and you can do it in late twilight just as the stars are coming out or while you're waiting for your OTA to cool off before you can start getting good images anyway. And it's certainly a lot more hands-off and more useful really than trying to do a polar alignment any other way. So okay, so there's two other options for our advanced users and beginners. Once they get a little more sophisticated and they learn how to use TPoint, perhaps from the SkyX Professional User's Guide or so forth. There is also a manual mode. What manual does is it simply clears the existing TPoint model and you add points yourself. So you can slew around the sky, and when you go to the imaging tab, you simply click add TPoint, and when you take an image, it'll take an image and automatically add it to the current model. Also, this is always available, so as long as your model isn't closed, meaning it's not a permanent setup or a portable setup where you ran the TPoint more than 24 hours ago, you can keep adding samples to your current model if you want to. So, for example, if you did an automated run and there was an area where there's some trees and you missed some samples, you could go over there and kind of hand pick or cherry pick some locations where you can get some stars to do that. Also, there is an advanced option, and if you're a real advanced user, this is going to come in very handy as well. When you start TPoint, it actually doesn't start anything. It just brings up the full TPoint settings dialog. This is the raw guts of TPoint. You can see all your calibration samples. You can actually get to the polar alignment report. And this is not something we think that beginners are going to, or we don't want to trouble people with getting into this to start off with. Just get TPoint going, get some good pointing, get some good tracking, and this is the sort of thing that you can do later. Now, there is one little thing that I should point out. Well, ProTrack is actually turned on automatically since I was using the simulator, so you don't need to come in here to turn on ProTrack, but you do need to come in here to run Supermodel. We don't currently have a way to run Supermodel on outside of the GUI. That's to be done before the tech preview phase is over. For small samples, really you don't need Supermodel either. It's only until you get to about 40 some odd points that TPoint starts modeling flexures in your system for longer focal lengths. So for shorter focal lengths, you might find that for only 25 samples or so, you don't even need to run Supermodel. But we will, by the time we call this an official product, Supermodel will be doing it anyway. So it doesn't hurt, right? Finally, let me point out there's a ceiling on the length of unguided exposures if you've not trained out the periodic error on your mount. or if the periodic error exceeds your imaging scale. So you be aware that that's the case. So next up, we'll talk about finding and getting your target and how to take and explore images, because that's it. We're done with TPoint. That's all there is to it. Thank you.